Okay, good morning again. And now I want to talk to you briefly about Chapter 5, which is the nonverbal chapter. To cover nonverbal communication in one chapter is an impossibility. I have taken courses in nonverbal that even that whole semester course barely scratched the surface of nonverbal communication. It is a huge area, relatively new to the field of communication. In other words, 50 years ago, nobody really looked at nonverbal because communication was defined by only that which was intentional and deliberate. And since the majority of nonverbal communication is subconscious and unintentional, it didn't fit the definition of communication, so people didn't study it. But most people by now realize that the most important thing is whether or not a message is received. And so, therefore, it's important to look at how we communicate, whether or not we intend to send that message. So nonverbal, this chapter 5, starts out by discussing some of the basic principles. And those are important, and those are really important for you to understand. But then the chapter goes into the fun stuff. It goes into breaking down nonverbal communication into particular genres or types or nonverbal codes. Everything from proxemics, which is the use of the study of space, and the idea where you get your personal space bubble, and territoriality, how we tend to mark our territory, into the study of haptics, which is touch. And of course, that's one of the most intimate nonverbal code we have. And yet touch has so much to do with our physical well-being as well as our psychological and our emotional well-being. Did you know that the women who are pregnant, who get more hugs, have less complications in birth? Did you know that getting hugs decreases the chances of catching a cold? Most people think the opposite. You're around too many people, you're going to get more sick. No, hugs increase your immunity, and make you less susceptible to catching viruses. So many, many, many things. I could just go on and on and on about nonverbal communication. It's huge. When you look at the study of deceit and lying, that's lately, because of that show, Lie to Me, has become much more on the public radar, if you will, in terms of the signs of lying and how we tend to lie. And that has a lot to do with, for example, your brain. The right side of your brain is the creative, artsy fartsy side. The left side of your brain is where language, logic is stored. Your body is cross-wired, including where you look. So when I look to the my left, I'm triggering activity in this side of my brain, which is the creative side. So if you're asking somebody where they were last night and they look that way, that typically means they're trying to come up with something. They're creating something, one of the signs of lying. Whereas if they're giving you a straight answer about where they were, to recall, they'll look here because the recollection is stored over here. Even things like eyebrow. How up or down your eyebrows, or whether they go together, that conveys something. The tightening of your lips, how you hold your hands, all those things give clues to deceit and somebody's well-being, both mental and physical. Amazing, fascinating information. And I'm not going to go into a whole lot of detail here because you are going to watch a video that does go into detail. A great video I found online that I thought, this guy says it as well as I could, so I'm going to let him go ahead and speak for that and just sort of give you an overview. I will tell you that the chapter has an assessment test. You might want to consider taking that. Considering the fact that the majority of nonverbal communication is unintentional and you send messages you don't necessarily realize you're sending, it might behoove you to ask a couple of people who know you well to assess your nonverbal. In other words, when you're mad, what do you do nonverbally? How do they know when you're mad? When you're just relaxed, what is your persona like? Like I found out that I tend to have, my face settles into sort of this, what for me is very relaxed, is interpreted as a scowl by other people. I didn't want to give the impression that I was angry or upset. It was just like that my face just kind of settled into this kind of expression. That was good for me to know. So then I can work on that and change the impression. So ask those kind of questions of family and friends and see what you can find out. Take careful notes in this chapter, listen carefully to the other video lecture, and then go out to lunch and go people watching and see what you can see. This is truly one of the most fascinating areas of communication. I hope you enjoy it. Thanks.